ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula has called on President Cyril Ramaphosa to deal with ministers who are leaking cabinet discussions. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana was dealt a blow yesterday when Cabinet rejected some of the financial proposals for his revised budget speech to fund government programs.
We don't believe that there is a decision that rejects the minister's budget proposals. What we know is that Cabinet is seized with the matter of the budget to ensure that we present to South Africa on the 12th something that will be aligned to our priorities, but over and above, something that is informed by fiscal discipline and intervention and bring about stability, because that's what is important. We noted the mischief of some, and like we said, they must be reined in. Because as ministers, you take oath, and we are not, Cabinet is not a political party, it's communicate with citizens. And if you tell citizens that there were differences to the point where the ministers' budget review proposals were rejected, you are misinforming and confusing the public. And the president must rein on those people in terms of the law. Those who sit with their friends and misinform the public. We are expecting government to come back to us on the 12th of March with a budget to be presented to the nation as the African National Congress.
The Democratic Alliance has once again come out against any proposals to increase VAT, corporate tax or income tax.
We are not convinced that there's this false dichotomy between higher taxes or an austerity budget that focuses on spending cuts for frontline services. The DA will remain laser-like focused on growing the economy through economic reforms, but also finding inefficiencies within government, cutting those expenses, amalgamating and binning departments that make no sense. And if we're able to do that, we will see this economy firing again, and we won't have to burden South African taxpayers to do so.
The MK party has also hit out at government's failure to improve tax collection.
The manner in which the revenue shortfalls have to be dealt with now in South Africa is primarily on three bases. One is that the manner in which we finance infrastructure development in South Africa has to fundamentally change. We need to pursue the build, operate, transfer model. There are so many interested parties from other parts of the world. Our friends in BRICS are willing to assist in the infrastructure programs, which we do not need to spend direct money on as a state. So if we do not do that, we can then be able to shift the resources to the basic needs that are needed. That is one. But two, there has to be a decisive action on dealing with tax base erosion, transfer pricing and illicit financial flows, because that phenomena continues to define South Africa's industry, and that has to be combated. It needs a decisive legislation, but also a decisive revenue collector which will not tiptoe around these multinational corporations, particularly in the resources sector, which continue to avoid taxes here in South Africa in a manner that is not sustainable, in a manner that actually cripples the fiscus.
EFF leader Julius Malema defended SARS Commissioner Edward Kitswetter for being against VAT increase and instead calling for resources to collect more income tax.
The GNU has failed, and they might intervene, the bosses now, to get them to pass the budget. But this is a clear sign of cracks, that there is nothing that can ever work going forward. We are going to be a government without a budget. It has never happened anywhere. Once you don't have a budget, you have collapsed the government. So Commissioner of SARS is making very progressive proposals and says if you increase VAT, it will not have any serious impact. But if anything, let's invest in SARS' capacity to collect the revenue. There is 800 billion which can be collected if systems are put in place. And the latest innovation is introduced at the SARS level, which is more sophisticated and has got an ability to reach every taxpayer. So Those are some of the things we can look at. We can look at reducing cabinet. We can look at removing deputy ministers. And there are many other areas that we can look at and cut to complement the social program of our government, because these austerity measures, which are targeting in particular health and education, are going to plug us into serious crisis.
Cabinet will regularly convene to get an update on Treasury's plans for the budget to fund the country's financial needs. But one thing is clear, the money will have to come from somewhere, either through increasing VAT, which has also been rejected, hiking corporate tax, which the DA is refusing to consider, or slashing spending as some of the suggestions. Samkele Masego, SABC News, Johannesburg.